Hello, welcome back. As you can see, I've got most of the chassis built on this Western Star Australian truck, as they call it, and that's looking quite good, I think. I've got the chassis built, the fuel tanks put together, I'll show you those in a minute or two, and as you can see, the engine put together. Most of it is fairly well detailed. It's not nearly as detailed as a military kit would be, but it's different genres, isn't it? Quite easy to put together. I had no real problems putting anything together on it, and as you can, I think it looks quite good now. We'll go into a little bit more detail in a second or two. I'll stop it spinning around because it's making me get dizzy, let alone you guys. Take that out of the way, and as you can see, it's quite a big thing. It's not little. And as you already know, the scale is 1 to 24. Everything works on it. It rolls along quite happily. All the wheels turn, and you can even use the steering if you had a mind to. I wouldn't consider putting it as a remote control vehicle though. I think it's a bit too fragile for that. But excuse all the noises, my chair just went down suddenly, and I'll just show you where I'm up to now. As I think I said to you, I've cut the sheets down because they were driving me around the bend. It turns out the instructions are just one massive sheet that you have to keep unfolding. Most of this work here is the cab and the sleeper, and we're not up to that yet. We've done page 1, I've already talked to you about that on the first video. We've done section 2 and section 3. Again, I've already mentioned those on previous video. Again, there's a lot of stuff here that's part of the cab and the sleeper, so we're not going to go into that just yet. Then it's all about the fuel tanks and the running gear, all the drive line, and most of it is fine. I've changed a couple of bits. These bits here, I've wrongly labelled that. I'll show you on here. These two pieces, 106B, are actually 106A, and it's these fuel tank hangers on the side there. What else have I got? All of this here, all of this in red, I've changed because it just doesn't look right. It wouldn't. I think I mentioned it wouldn't run properly on a UK road or an Australian road. Just has these two little lights on the back that are in the centre of the chassis. That's assuming that it rarely runs without a trailer. That is true, but they do run without a trailer occasionally. Run solo, if you like. So what I've done is I've made a lighting bar on the back, and I think that looks quite good. One of the other things that happened with let's see if we can get a bit closer with that for you. And what you also have on most of these trucks, these heavy trucks, is a tow bar at the back, a tow coupling at the back, so that you can pull a dolly along with it, and without the dolly you can't put multiple trailers on. It's as simple as that. Airline red, yellow and blue, and you can only just see it. Let's see if I can alter the settings on my camera. That might be a little bit better. You might be able to see it a little bit more clearly there. Trouble is, it's all black. That's the trouble. I've sprayed it all gloss black, so it's difficult to see things. You can just see the electrical connector that I've made and put on the back there. And basically I've made those SUSI connections out of a little bit of 2mm tube and a little bit of 1mm rod down the centre of it. The lights I've made from, I've made them from, let me think, I think it's 4mm tubing cut to 1mm lengths. As you can see, they're only very short, and then put an LED inside them, glued them onto this PVC bar that I've made here, glued them onto that, put an LED inside them, tiny LED, then filled it with resin, filled the cup with resin all the way along, all of them, and then when the resin's dried, obviously paint them the correct colour, and then I've varnished them with gloss varnish so that they look right. And what you've got there are 2 indicators, 1 reflector, 2 side lights, side and brake lights they would be, 1 reversing light, 1 fog light, side and brake lights, reflector, and 2 indicators. And if you want any more information on those, leave a comment in the boxes below. I'll be too happy to help you if I can. Underneath, moving swiftly on, underneath I've painted all the drive line, the running gear, in red. They seem to have Eaton diffs and Eaton gearboxes. It'll be an Eaton twin splitter. So they normally came in red, so that's what I've done, but I can't find any photographs of any of the running gear, so I've done what I think is right. So the running gear's in. I've not painted that prop shaft yet, drive shaft if you prefer. I was going to run the air lines off the brake chambers, but you know what, it's tempting to do it, but I don't see that there's any advantage to it, because when it's finished, the way I'm doing it, you're not going to be able to pick it up and look underneath, and it would all be covered up, so I decided not to do it. So what I have done is I've hidden all the wires and made 2 new, the mud flaps, the mud guards are from the kit, but I've made 2 new supports. There were 2 chrome supports with the kit, and the wires run, you can't really see them, which is proof that they're hidden, run underneath those 2 new supports. They then go in through the original holes for the mud guards that came with the kit, and run along the chassis members and come out at the top here. They're wrapped in a bit of paper so that I could spray the whole thing and not get paint on the wires. The tyres were shiny black, which it doesn't look right at all, does it? So I've sanded those down with a sanding stick, half a sanding stick, with a sanding stick, burnished them all off, all down the sides, and they look much more natural, that colour. The wheels were originally chrome plated, all the wheels were chrome plated, and to make the chrome plating, the chrome plate that comes with the kit looks very much like a toy, so I decided to get shut of it. And the only way I found, other people have told me that you can use bleach and all sorts of things. You may find that you will find there's a video just before this, well, it's quite some time before this one. There's a video before this one that does a comparison of bleach and all sorts of things, and none of them really worked. The only one that really worked was caustic soda. If you use caustic soda, be very careful, it's not pleasant stuff. Read the instructions carefully, and if you're not sure how to use it, don't. As I say, the wheels originally came chrome plated, so I took that chrome plating off and sprayed them grey with a grey primer out of a rattle can that you can buy from the shops, you know, the spray paint for your car. Then a coat of gloss black, the same stuff out of a rattle can. You can see it more clearly on that front wheel there. Let's bring the camera in a little bit. See it much more clearly on there, and you can see the shine on it. It's got a real shine on it, and I quite like that. So I've never driven a truck with chrome wheels, so I thought I'm not going to make a truck with chrome wheels. So the wheels are jet black. Once I'd put the gloss paint on, leave them 24 hours to set for it to harden, and then sprayed it with high gloss lacquer, and that's why there's such a sheen on them. I haven't sprayed a lacquer on the chassis because I don't think it needs it. In the centre, as a token to the chrome work it came with, I painted it a little chrome hub in the middle of each one, and that I did with this stuff. And do you know what, when it's sprayed, it really does look like chrome. It's really good, and you can brush it. I've brushed the chrome, this paint onto those hubs, and I think that's come out really nicely. Thanks very much to Seamus for recommending that particular chrome to me. I'll put a link to his YouTube feed in the description below. The radiator fan, I think I've mentioned before, is actually part of the radiator, and they've done that because it holds the engine up, so they had to do. Underneath, front axle, the steering gear, the geometry of the steering is quite good actually, and it means that one wheel goes round. As most of you guys know, the wheel that takes the longest route round doesn't turn quite as far. So the geometry actually works quite well, and it is what it is. It tells you on the instructions to heat a screwdriver, a flat surface, and just press down the pins that enable it to work. I use that. I use it for all sorts of things. I bought, I don't know if anybody would be interested, but I bought a whole pack of dental tools, and you know, they come in ever so handy. You can do all sorts of things with them. They're really good. I would hope, I paid about £3 for those from eBay. I would hope a real dentist would invest a little bit more money in the tools he's using on your teeth, but hey, who knows. What am I up to? So the radiator's in there, glossed and ready to go, and ready to put the engine. The engine just sits in the centre there, yeah. And what else we got? I've put a little bit of extra plastic in there. That will be underneath the sleeper, and I'm going to try and use that area there to terminate all the wires, and the wires will then go through into the base that I'm going to put the truck on, and hopefully there'll be a wire here that just plugs into the base. We'll see, and that might be a bit of a dynamic job. The airbags on the suspension, you might not be able to tell on this video, everything's gloss black, and I've painted the airbags a matte black because they wouldn't be gloss. It's as simple as that. It's like the tyres, they wouldn't be shiny. What else we've done? The sliding bed, I think I may have explained the use for that, and they do tend to get rusty here because it takes the shine off it. Then when you don't move it for a while, all the springs and the teeth on the bed itself get rusty. And anything else? No, I don't think there is. So that is the chassis, and I think that looks quite impressive, to be honest. I haven't put the engine in yet, but I will do after this video. The engine, it is detailed. It could be a little bit more detailed. I was going to put all the wiring in and all the pipe work in. The pipe work to the solenoid, to the starter motor, for example, and fuel lines, air lines from the compressor. But at the end of the day, I don't really think it needs it. It sits quite low in there. Not quite that low, but it does sit quite low in there, and that means that most of the work again wouldn't be seen, so it's just wasted. What have I done on the front of it there? Let's have a look. The belts on the engine are a little bit thick. I did watch a video of a guy that had taken all these off excuse me, put the pulley wheels on, and then used masking tape, a thin masking tape, to go around and act as the pulleys. Again, I don't think it's worth it. By the time you lift the bonnet, where have we gone? By the time you put the engine in and then lift the bonnet up to see it, you won't really see the front of the engine, you'll just see the edges of it. So I didn't really think that was worth the time and the effort. What they have supplied in the kit, where's he gone? What they have supplied in the kit, I've treated as it would be. So it's a Cummins big cam engine. I think it's a version 1. The difference between a big cam and a small cam apparently is the cam is a half an inch bigger in diameter on this engine than a normal Cummins, and according to Cummins that saves fuel and gives it more torque. I don't know how that works, but there you go, that's what they say. So that's the engine, and the Cummins engines very often come in red. Gearboxes very often come in silver. They're aluminium casings, so that's what I've done with the gearbox. I'm not going to put the gear lever linkages in because I don't know where they go to on the bottom of the cab, and when I get the bottom of the cab in, I'll think about doing that, but I don't think you're going to be able to see the gearbox underneath the cab. The exhaust on the turbo, the exhaust manifold running along there, I've rusted up, and what I did there was I mixed a little bit of pastel, crushed up pastel, soft pastels, and I mixed that with some burnt umber paint, and then painted it on. Well, I didn't actually paint it on, dab it on, as though, you know, you're dabbing it for a stippling effect, so it comes out a little bit rough, and then afterwards paint it with a rust coloured paint that I mix myself, and that's a mixture of blue and orange, and it comes out quite a rusty colour, so I think that's come out quite well, to be honest. The air intake side of the turbo, of course, would be as it is. This bit's normally thin sheet steel. I suspect on the real engine it looks like plastic, and it's the crossover to bring the air over to this side. That's about all I can tell you about the engine, and they've supplied some of the oil pipes which I've put in. The oil filters, sometimes red, sometimes yellow. I thought if I paint them red, they're not going to show up, and painted them yellow because I can. The dipstick black, a little bit of weathering, which is just very, very thin matte black, and dabbed it in as though it's a looked after engine, but it's going to have some dirt on it. It's as simple as that, isn't it? Same with the cylinder heads up here, just a little bit of black paint mixed very, very thinly and dabbed in. Got to do a bit of touch up here. I've got a bit of paint, silver paint on the black paint. That's not good. And apart from that, oil cooler would of course be black. I think I've mentioned before that would be a bit of a wrist just dangling down there, but there you go. That's what they've done. Oil pump, oil pipes back into the sump, and that's about it. The silver paint, the metal paint, as you can see, rubs off. So with handling, it tends to rub off the metallic paints. I'll just patch that up again before I put it into the truck. That is where I'm up to. I'll show you the fuel tanks. Put that in there. Now the fuel tanks were, wrong way. The fuel tanks were chrome, full chrome. So I did paint them full chrome with the paint that I showed you earlier. And then I had the brainstorm that I was going to, they came out really well. Took all the chrome off them and then joined them together, and you can just about see the seam. That one's underneath, so it's not a problem. You can just about see the seam on the top of them there. Chromed them all, glued them together, sanded them down, sanded them to within an inch of their lives, then painted them with a primer, then painted them with gloss black, then painted them with chrome paint, and to be fair, they came up looking really good. They looked just like chrome fuel tanks. Not only have I never driven a truck with chrome wheels, I haven't driven one with chrome fuel tanks either. However, I then sprayed it with a clear lacquer to get a gloss, see if we can improve the gloss finish. And this is how they came out. It made it dull, made it look like aluminium. And you know, every truck I've ever driven either had painted tanks or aluminium tanks. So I'm going to leave that. I quite like that. And I quite like them like that, so I'm going to leave them like that. Each to their own though, isn't it? You know, so if you want them chrome, go for it. The hole I've drilled there is in where the fuel tank, the fuel filler tank cap would go. So that you can put your stick in, stick it on your board, and when you've painted it, then you can put the fuel filler cap on it and the hole goes away, it disappears. What I've also done, most of this isn't for the chassis, it's all for the cab, but it gives you an idea of the stages that I've gone through. And what I've done here is, this is the bull bar from the front, and some people call it a rhubar. I've never heard it called a rhubar, it's always been a bull bar to me, but there you go. And basically rubbed it all down, primed it, then sprayed it with high gloss black paint on both sides, and then it needs a little bit more sanding down, I think, just to make it look right, and then perhaps another coat of black, but then I'm going to spray chrome on that all over, and I think that'll look quite good. So that's the bull bar. Where did I get that from? There. Same with the radiator cover, and again I think it still needs a little bit of rubbing down on the surface. Well, it does definitely needs a little bit of rubbing down on the surface there, and when it's finished that will look really quite nice. Same with all the other bits, and you know, sometimes it might take you a couple of coats to get the finish that you want. I think it's going to take more than a couple of coats on there. That is where I'm up to. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave them in the boxes below. When you see it next time, I'll have all the chassis put together, and I'll have started the cab and the sleeper cab. As I say, if you have any questions, don't hesitate, please leave them below, and I'll put your Seamus's address at the bottom. Thanks very much for watching. Ta-ra!